This is the underside of Matt Armstrong's BMW E24. Now in the previous video, we finally got that rear windscreen surround welded in. We also made a panel for that front section and we finished off around the lights. In this video, I'm going to concentrate on the underside of this rear section, get everything finally buttoned up, and then we can move on to this front section and try and figure out what we need to do because it looks like an absolute mess. Now, as you can see, there's still some work to do on this back section. Now, there's a hole here, there's a hole here, there's two holes here. This seam needs completely redoing because there's rust between it and it's ended up opening it out. And that seam just needs cutting out and redoing. There's holes down this back section, there's a hole down here. So everything just needs cleaning up properly and then re-welding, patch panels making, and then hopefully we can get all of this back section 100% complete. Right, so I only wanted to cut out a seam, which was probably about that big, as you saw a couple of minutes ago. Now, I started cutting this and it just kept going and kept going and kept going. And just look at this, what's going on here now. I've got a massive hole to fill and inside there is actually a lot of rust as well. So I'm going to start the rebuilding process for all this. And it goes to show that you cut out a little tiny bit of rust and you just end up with a huge job of rebuilding most of the car, just like the rest of the car that I've had to do. So I'm going to get a template and I'm going to start, well, I need to clean this up first, and then I'm going to get a template. I'm going to start sort of trying to refabricate a lot of this section here, because there's a lot going on. There's like a lap, there's an L angle on this side, and yeah, let's just get into it. Right, so I've made those 3 sections so far. What I do want to do now is make this end section here. Now this is sort of like the end capping plate which goes in here. Now obviously these L shapes on the back, I don't need to make these because these are actually part of these sections here. So I just need to make this sort of end plate here. Now it extends further this way than what this panel does because I cut that out differently. So obviously I've taken that into account on the template. Also, I'm going to extend this section further this way towards the outside because you may have noticed there's a couple of holes in this as well. So I've got my template. I'll cut this out, get it on some sheet steel, and then I'll start bending and hopefully make all of this section in one piece. Right, I've just remembered I can't make all of this in one section because it actually returns in to that extension piece that I mentioned earlier. Right, so initially I'd wanted to cut out this seam, which was probably about that long, and I've had to cut this whole situation out. Now this consists of 6 panels, which is almost a full video's worth, and that just goes to show that you want to cut out a little tiny bit of rust and you end up cutting nearly the whole car out. So I've blown all that out, that's all nice and clean. I've protected it with some primer, so I'm going to weld these panels in, get them all ground down, get all this area finished, and then I'm going to start on this corner, which is looking pretty grim, to be honest. Ah! Right, so you've just watched me weld this nice, lovely plate in here, but some of you may have noticed that I kind of messed up a little bit, and I should have welded this one in first because of this section here, which is underneath there. So what I'm going to have to do is take this out and then weld this one in first, and then weld that one back in. Don't you love cars? Don't you just love cars?
right, listen, I can explain, right? I know this looks completely different to what it did a couple of minutes ago on the video. However, my voice hasn't been the greatest, so talkie time has been on the lowdown, and it took about 8 hours to transfer 500 gigabyte of footage from my phone because I completely filled it up and my phone was out of service. So I thought, what do I do for 8 hours? So we decided to strip or continue stripping the other side of the car. Now, it didn't take as long as what you thought because most of this was already taken off. So it was just like, you know, bits of primer that was there. The hardest bit was obviously the back section around the wheel well, the spare wheel well, because it was difficult to get in there. But we used a heat gun, got a scraper, came off, no problem. So this is the situation we're in currently, and let me just mention that U-Pol has come through with the goods and absolutely hooked us up with the discs. U-Pol, if you're into this sort of stuff, U-Pol, get in touch with them. They've got really good products. So now what I've actually done is, you can see from the weld marks here, I've actually done a bit of welding on the inside. There's a couple of pinholes, there's a couple of things that I needed to finish off. So that's all done. Most of the welding is done on the inside except for the rear seat mount bracket, which is down here, which I cut off to do this section down here. There's also a bit near the front windscreen surround that I also need to do. But apart from that, all the welding on that inside and all the fabrication is done. Now, on this side, most of it is done. We've got quite a lot to do still on the back section. There's this one up here. So I've done, obviously, this one down here in the start of this video, but there's this one up here to do as well. And then there's where the rotisserie is actually mounted. There's all that section to do as well. But we can't do that until it's on the dolly. Now, to finish this video off, we're going to continue stripping the underside of this. There's a couple of, obviously, you know, welds that we need to clean up. We've got welds to clean up on the inside. And then we're going to quickly go over with the DA on that inside just to get rid of all the rest of the, you know, the little bits of sealant, sound deadening, etc. And then hopefully we can start getting that inside ready for paint. Right, so quick status update on Matt Armstrong's BMW E24. Now, we've done a lot of work off camera because it's been fairly time consuming, but we've just done it to get it done basically. So status update is a lot of the underside is down to bare metal, probably 80% of it, using the DA sander and the U-Pol 80 grit sandpaper. This inside, probably I'd say about 60% is complete, down to bare metal. I've tidied up a lot of the welds. I did do a lot of welding in here. That's all tidied up just about. There's a couple of pinholes that I did have to obviously fill as well. So that's all that sorted. The boot is probably 60% complete, down to bare metal.
with the 80 bits on paper on the DA U-Pole. So the reason we're doing this is because we keep uncovering little bits and bobs that we need to do welding wise and fabrication wise. So I prefer to do all this, get it all nice and said and done and dusted, and then obviously move on to paint prep stage, etc. Catch you in the next video where we're probably going to go on a welding spree. We've got all this welding to do on the front section, on the rear light surrounds, on the rear windscreen surrounds. We've also got that front section to complete as well. So make sure you smash that like and subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and with that being said, we'll catch you in the next installment of Matt Armstrong's BMW E24.